Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Don't necessarily have a name for it yet, but this is my good friend and my battle buddy. If you're familiar with the sub two community, Ray Moreno. We actually met through my mother and his fiance, and after we just, the ladies they got to talking, and by the time we connected with each other, we just, dude, every day pretty much we've been talking.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, thank you for being on here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's get down to brass tacks. If you don't mind me asking, um, give us like a brief description of what your life was like after you graduated high school, from your senior year up till you joining to sub two. Like in that time frame, I don't know if it was like years or months,
Oh, it
but
was
what was it
years.
like? Years?
It's a
Okay.
lot of years. So how you doing?
So,
Um, so I can go a little bit into high school as well. So
okay. Yeah.
when I was in high school, I was on the swim team, right?
No kidding.
Yeah, you
All
wouldn't
right.
you'd never think, right?
Well, I just didn't realize I could relate to you so much.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I was on
Yeah.
the swim team too. But swimmers are built not like me in almost any way possible, right?
Right.
So, for people that haven't seen me in person, I'm a short and stocky type dude. Swimmers are built very long and thin. Um, but I was the worst person on the team the my freshman year, right?
Right.
So eventually, long story short, I ended up a captain of the swim team my senior year, breaking, I think, being part of breaking four school records
Dude,
that were long standing for 10 years or more.
that's awesome.
So, moral of that story is, I kind of did what it took in order to get there. I filled a need that needed to be filled. Um, so, my stroke back then was butterfly. Nobody
Right.
wanted to do butterfly. People were drowning, swallowing water. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. It needs to be done. And if I can be good at this, then you know, I'll be good.
Right.
And lo and behold, it eventually happened. So I was putting the work in, putting the work in, putting the work in. And that was my first experience of getting in what you put, or getting out what you put into it.
Right.
Um, so the complete opposite. Once I left high school, I had a summer and then I went straight into the military. So for anybody that knows anything about the military, it's not necessarily you get in what you put out, or you get out what you put in.
Right.
I was an Air Force guy, um, and I mainly dealt in counterterrorism my entire 4 years. Um, so with that, it's very analytical type work. So I wasn't very happy in the military. There wasn't that get out what you put in type mentality. There was a lot of cutting corners and, being around a lot of negative people.
Right.
Um, so I left as soon as I could, which was my 4 year contract. Um, After that, I was doing the same type of work, just in a different uniform. So still surrounded by negative people. Um, Around 2016 is when I got into real estate,
Hmm.
which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
I went and I bought I attended a seminar that was sponsored by Robert Kiyosaki,
No way.
and I ended up buying the program. Um, so fast forward a little bit, I started wholesaling, and what happened was I started a direct mail campaign. Fell completely flat. I was getting calls but all I knew was cash. So I couldn't really be helping anybody with anything besides a lowball offer.
Right.
I had no sales skills. And the biggest thing from my perspective was the lack of community as well. So that lasted not long, and I kind of put it to the side. I always had real estate in the back of my mind, but I that was when I stopped really being active until um, I bought my first rental property on a VA loan. Um, I house hacked at, well, I lived in it first, and then after that year, I moved and put that out for rent. I was cash flowing like $100, but I was
Oh.
lit about it. I was so excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a landlord. Blah blah blah. A little bit later, I bought another house, and that house is where I lived up until around December of last year.
Okay.
But I was able to put a tenant in that house, 3-year lease, and kind of set and forget till those 3 years are up.
Right.
Um, but that allowed me to kind of um, live off of my passive income. So my experience with real estate overall has been very positive. And now that I'm part of the Sub 2 community, I know, one, I'm part of a community, right? I can go to people like yourself. I can go to people that are, above me and be like, hey, I need some help on this. I don't know where to go. I've never encountered this situation. And it's like, cool, let's bounce some ideas off of each other
Mhm.
and let's see what we can do. And everybody has been more than helpful. So I have community behind me. Um, I now have, the knowledge, at least the base knowledge, to know what questions to be asked,
Right.
which is invaluable. Um, so, I mean, those two things have been like a complete shift for me. So now I'm doing real estate full time, um, and it's awesome. I love it.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that you're getting benefits from the sub two community as well, because that was actually going to be my next question, which was up since you answered the previous question I asked, what your life was like after graduating high school, leading up to sub two. It kind of ties into my next question of now with you being involved in sub two, how has that changed your life for the better or for the worse, if
Mhm.
anything? But I doubt it, considering the sub two.
Mhm.
You mentioned that one of them was a community and how you can ask any questions.
Mhm.
Everybody's there to help you out almost the second you make a post on that Facebook group.
Absolutely.
What would you say is something that the Facebook group provided to you
Mhm.
other than a community that you didn't think that you would get anywhere else?
Huh. That's tough because I mean, community is so important, right?
Right.
I, prior to joining Sub 2, I could count my close friends on, a handful of fingers, no pun intended.
Right.
Um, but now, like, I'm in a place where I'm talking to people that I consider friends, but not only are they friends, they were also making money together. There's always that. And I saw this Instagram thing not too long ago, and it's like, if you're my friend, I want to make money with you. I want to see you succeed. I want to I want you to have the best for your family and your loved ones. Um, and that's how I feel. Like if I can't make money with you, then we can't really support each other the way that friends should be supporting each other.
Right. I 100% agree with that, for sure.
Where, like, if you think about it, tribal days, who were your friends? Like the people that were sharing their food with you. Those were the people that mattered to you. These people had a vested interest in keeping your life uh, intact because they knew that you have, I have your back, you have my back, And that it's a survival thing. It really is. Um, so that's kind of where I come from with it. Like, if I can't make money with you, then you know there's a there's kind of a deficit. So,
Yeah, definitely. So from what I got from that,
mhm.
it definitely gave you a clear definition of what you want your future friendships to be.
Absolutely.
It definitely helped you narrow down from just accepting people that you were in the military with, I'm
Mhm.
assuming, and people that you kept in high school, kept in touch with high school,
Mhm.
to now being to where now if I can't make money with you, I don't want to be around you, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it comes off a little harsh, and I don't mean it harshly,
Right.
but it's it's something that's more of a matter of fact thing. Um, and there, I mean, there's a lot of ways to make money with people,
Oh, absolutely.
but you want to be friends with like-minded people, and the people that are like-minded with me are the people that are trying to improve themselves on a daily basis. They're trying to improve their life situations. They're trying to improve their bank accounts,
Hmm.
and they're trying to create something to pass to their kids and their grandkids.
Right.
Um,
Generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so easy nowadays for random people to meet each other, become friends on the
Mm-hmm.
street, if you will, but what do they really have in common other
Mm-hmm.
than just saying, oh, we like the same type of coffee
Yeah.
or we like the same type of cars or whatever? There's got to be, at least in my perspective, a deeper connection to being more than just friends on the surface level.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be like what you said, if we can't make money together, then why we're being friends?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, honestly, I don't think that's too harsh at all. That's actually should be a definition for a lot of people in the business world.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if I'm gonna dedicate time to hanging out with you when I could easily be getting an extra 100K, 200K from making another phone call,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be worth that 100, 200K for me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in a sense of like, oh, we're doing another deal with each other that's worth 100, 200K, but like just spending time with you to where it'll lead up to another deal
Yeah.
that could possibly be that amount, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be friends with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that a lot more people should have as their definition if they want to become an entrepreneur in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. Because it's like the saying goes, time is money.
Yeah. Definitely.
What's so funny I mentioned time is money.
Uh-huh.
How would you say that what you're doing right now, what do you feel like you're worth per hour with what you're doing right now?
Hmm.
And if it's lower than what you want to be worth in the future, what do you feel like you're worth per hour? If we're going off the per hour, measurement, what do you feel like you'll be worth in the future?
I've never thought about it in those terms. Because I don't necessarily see time as something that's finite. So there's a concept called um, Newtonian time
Right?
versus Einsteinian time.
Okay.
So Newtonian time is like the seconds on the clock, the hours, in the day. And having a paradigm like that can kind of set people back. It puts you in automatically in a state of lack because you're lacking the abundance of time, if that makes sense.
Right.
Time is scarce. Einsteinian is time is relative, right? I don't know how long we've been talking, but I know that I'm enjoying myself and it feels like it's worth it. Um, and it's like you said, like that time has to, like, there's a price tag on it objectively, but you don't really know that price tag until, you know, afterwards. Does that make
Okay.
sense at all?
Yeah, it does. Actually, it does. I guess then, in that case, where would you see yourself? Where would you see yourself 2 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
given that where you're at right now with your real estate
Mm-hmm.
career or profession,
Yeah.
however you want to phrase it? If you were to put forth more effort than what you're doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
2 years from now, where do you see yourself doing? Like, do you see yourself definitely living in a different place? Do you see yourself having kids with your fiance? How's it going? Like, where would you see yourself? What's Ray Moreno gonna be like 2 years from now?
Yeah. So 2 years from now, um, funny you say this. So me and Jackie, my fiance, we talk about this all the time, which is great to have a partner that's on the same level as you when it comes to where you're going. Right. That's very important. You have clarity as a team towards a similar direction.
Right.
So that being said, I see myself as absolutely living in a different place. We want to have a dream house built, tons of land, no neighbors, um, everything that you could really want in a house in that house. Nothing too crazy, but
Right.
everything like livestock, um, some recreational activities, pool, just something that you can be like, wow, something proud of, something that you can be proud of. Like, wow, this is where I live. You know what I mean? Um, so along those lines, I mean, to get there, it's, creating the active income to convert into more passive income. And
Okay.
then it's a snowball, right? Um, so that's kind of where our heads are at and where we want to be. You know, starting a family, uh, and feeling secure in what you're doing.
Right. Would you say, because you mentioned the passive income versus the active income,
Mhm.
would you say that 2 years from now as well, would you be living more passively, or would you be doing income more actively, if you will? Would you be working more for that income to later on live passively?
Mhm. Yeah, so that's a great question, because that's clarity, right?
Right.
So with that clarity, I'd probably say the short answer is, I'm not sure, because it depends on how things are going for me, active income wise. For sure, I'd want the passive income to be able to support my life. And then at that point, the active income is there for enjoyment. It's for the hunt, getting the deal, the negotiations, the personal development associated with that. Because I know there's a ton of people, they build their passive income and they wash their hands and they're like, all right, I'm done.
Right.
Um, am I going to be like that in 2 years? I don't know. Um, so short answer is I'm not sure. But I that beautiful thing about active income is you can always pick it back up. Hey, I'm bored. I know uh, a sub two OG who he literally made all of his money. He took years off, and he's like, you know what? I got bored, so I'm back, and he's killing it. He
Right.
has everything he needs in order to do whatever he wants. Um, and I think building like personal development, building those skill sets will never leave and they will always serve you.
Sounds solid. I like that. So that's pretty much all the questions I have for now. But I do want to ask you one more question. Um, what's any good books that you've read recently?
Oh man, I read too many books.
Too many. Okay.
Uh, so
If it's too difficult, you can name your top three.
top three.
Top three.
That's even harder.
Oh man.
Killing me. I mean, there's different books for different things that you want to achieve.
Right.
Um, so I mean, as far as I'm big into identity work.
Okay.
So I'm a huge believer in your identity determines everything. So an example of that is a recent example is Grant Cardone. He had a show called Undercover Billionaires,
Right. Right. I've seen
and
parts of it. Yep.
exactly. So what he did was he said, "All right, I'm no longer Grant Cardone. I am Lewis Curtis, and I'm going to go to a town where I have no connections, and I'm going to create a business that creates over $1 million a year." Um, And Grant Cardone, being the guy that he is, he's like, you know what? I'm making it 10 million. Lo and behold, after 90 days, he achieves it. How did he achieve that? Because he's Grant Cardone. He knows how to do it. Like, that's his identity. He's a billionaire. So billionaires can lose everything and get it back in a very short amount of time. The flip side of that is, let's say it's a broke person that wins the lottery. What happens with that? They're like, oh my goodness, I got all this money now. Their instinct is to spend it. Hey, I have money, that means I need to spend it.
Right.
Whereas let's say Grant Cardone is like, hey, I need to generate money. They gave him $100, they gave him a truck, and they gave him a phone, and he didn't spend that $100. He ended up selling his truck, which he regretted later. But long story short, boom, like he did what he was supposed to do. Person that wins the lottery and their identity is not the person that has that money, they lose all of that money and they go back to being broke and sometimes worse off. So, we were talking about a little bit earlier where we want to be in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book called Creating Your Future Self Now, or something along those lines, by Benjamin Hardy. Amazing book. All of his books are great.
Yeah, you're gonna have to text that to me. I haven't heard of it.
Dude, he's got a ton of books, and the audiobooks are amazing. That particular book is about crafting your future self. And in that book, he talks about Mr. Beast as an example. And he did, so Mr. Beast, he started off as what? Just a college kid, no resources. And when he started making videos of, hey, this is where I'm going to be in a year. And he started dripping those videos to himself over the course of the time. He did a year, he did like 5 years, 10 years, something like that. But lo and behold, after those, when he would drip those videos to be released, it was true. And sometimes it was more than true. Like, he was way farther than what he had even projected.
Right.
So like an exercise to do is have a camera set up and talk like you are yourself from a year. Like, what do you have? Whatever. What do you have? What are you doing? How are you spending your time? Who are you spending it with? And then you kind of internalize that, and you start acting from the person that made that video, the you from a year. So that book is full of exercises like that.
Awesome.
But along those lines, like, his other books are amazing. TS 10x is easier than 2x, which falls in line with the identity thing as well. 2x is doing more of the same, just more of it. 10x is taking that top 20% of things that you are good at, like not necessarily good at, but that move the needle.
Right.
And focusing on that and outsourcing the rest, which falls into another one of his books, which is Who Not How. And, searching for the who to complete what you need completed instead of doing it yourself, the 2x. So another one is The Gap in the Gain, that beautiful book, focusing on how far you've come as opposed to how much longer you have to go. So I can't recommend Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan books enough. The audiobooks are amazing. They do little podcast interviews in between each chapter. It's beautiful.
I'm about to check them out for sure. Yeah, man. And then any chance we got a threefer? Or just want to leave it at those two books? Yeah. Either or is cool.
Becoming Your Future Self Now. Oh, you want different books? Like different?
Yeah, different books.
Okay.
Oh, you're good. But if you want to leave it at that, we're good. I want to see if I can give you a run for your money.
Man, okay. So let me see. If you want I'm not going to be able to do this justice. If you want a huge deep dive into identity work, there's a book called The Parallel Universes of Self.
Parallel universes of self.
Um,
You mentioned that to me when we smoked cigars.
Yeah.
About a week or two ago, right?
mhm.
Yep.
Did you end up getting it?
I have it in my Amazon cart. I'm waiting
Okay.
for the next paycheck. I'll buy it as soon as I get it.
Yeah,
Yep.
dude. So it's kind of like I was talking about earlier. A big thing in that book is visualization, and visualizing yourself from that identity that you need to be acting from.
Right.
Um, and it's that book is so in depth. That first half of the book is for me a life changing book. Um, that book touches on manifestation as well, and there's tons of different manifestation authors out there, and each one resonates with different type of people. The Parallel Universes of Self by Frederick Dodson, that resonates with me the most.
All right.
So that's two. A third one, what sort of book subject are you interested in?
See if I can throw you in for a ringer.
Yeah.
Personal finance.
Personal finance.
And if you say Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, that it's such basic stuff, but if you're not hip to how money works and how to utilize debt and the difference between good debt and bad debt, then you're lost in the sauce.
No, I agree.
You are completely
100%
drowning.
Yep. I'll admit, if it wasn't for me reading a couple personal finance books and then looking at some personal finance YouTube videos, it definitely wouldn't have helped me get to where it needed to be now. I just wanted more credit back then, so that way I could drive a BMW car. I wasn't looking for an M series. Wasn't looking for like a i8, even though that's my dream car. But at the same time, I just told myself, because I got to borrow my dad's BMW back then as my first car, if you will, for college. My first car that I'm buying with my own money, BMW. And then I was like, how can I get a BMW? It was like, oh, you need to get a loan, you need to build a credit score. I'm like, okay, time to look into personal finance.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, I'd probably be driving a Nissan Altima. That's the first thing that comes to mind. No offense to you Nissan Altima drivers out there. Please don't at me. Maybe. Well, yeah.
But yeah, man, like you said, even buying a car, right, is that car an asset? Do you know the difference between an asset and a liability?
Right.
If you're using that car to drive you to places that you can make money and you can write that car off, it's an asset. If you're just using that car as a daily driver, doing whatever you're doing, and not writing it off, yeah, that's a liability. That's a doodad in the book.
Right.
Or in the cash flow game. You played that, right?
Yep.
Love it.
I have it. We played with my brother and sister at one point. It was fun. We still yet to finish
crushed
the game.
them.
Actually, no.
Finished?
I think yeah, we didn't finish, but I think it was my sister, Aliana. That little 10-year-old girl was giving me a run for my money, and I'm like,
man.
how am I broke? Other than that, though, no, it's a great game. We definitely got to play sometime, for sure.
Oh, I'm totally down.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, bro.
Looking forward to the next one for sure, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, that's it for the video. And if you want to see part 1 of this podcast, to where my boy Ray was interviewing me, check out his channel. Link to that video is going to be in the description down below. Later. I felt like a podcaster.
Yeah, dude, you did really good. That was so much.